त्यागेश्वरं रामकृष्णं शारदां मातृरूपिणीं विवेकानन्दमाचार्यं नत्वा वक्ष्यामि शुद्धे योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचां मूलं शरीरस्य च भैषजेन योपाकरोत्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि. In our last class we discussed the sutra Parinama Tapa Samskara Dukkhaihi Gunavritti Virodhacha Dukkhameva Sarvam Vivekina. For a Vivekin, for a person of discrimination, Sarvam, everything is misery. Now, as we discussed, it doesn't mean that this Viveki or a person of discrimination is always in sensational or sense-induced misery, pain. It doesn't mean that. It means that person is able to discern pain in everything. He or she is able to foresee pain in everything and consequently avoid it. So that's what is meant by Dukkham Sarvam. Now, when you say Sarvam, generally accepted and understanding or meaning is all pursuits of pleasure. All pursuits of pleasure for a yogin, for a viveki, are fraught with pain. That is the general meaning. It can also be extended to other pursuits. And the reasons were the earlier part of the sutra, Parinama Tapa Samskara Dukkhai, because there are these three kinds of pains inherent in every pursuit of pleasure. When we say pursuit of pleasure, we mean the worldly pursuits of pleasure or pursuits of worldly pleasure. So these pursuits are fraught with Parinama Dukkha, Tapa Dukkha and Samskara Dukkha. This Samskara Dukkha and Parinama Dukkha are somewhat related. Samskara Dukkha is that we get a desire, we pursue it, we get the experience of pleasure. Now that experience of happiness or pleasure, that creates a samskara, a subliminal impression. And this samskara goes to strengthen the desire for pleasure. So next time when the desire comes, it will come with added force, so to say. So that is the samskara dukkha. So every experience of pleasure is going to add to the strength of the desire. And it is going to make us want more and more. And finally, it is going to land us in trouble. That is the parinama dukkha. Every unbridled, blind pursuit of pleasure is going to end in tragedy and misery. That is the parinama dukkha. That's how these two are, so to say, related. Samskara will keep on increasing our desire for pleasures, and that blind pursuit will invariably end in tragedy. So, there are a lot of quotations and all that najatu kamah kamanam upabhagena shammiti, like that. You want to get rid of this discontent by pursuing and experiencing pleasure, but that is not the way to get rid of this discontent. It only adds to the discontent. This experience of pleasure will only add to the discontent. So that those are the two kinds of pains which a viveki foresees in pursuit of pleasure. And then there is tapa dukkha, that is related to the anxiety, anguish that is associated with pleasure seeking. There is always this anxiety that whether we will get what we want or not. And once we have got it, we will lose it. That anxiety is there. So that tapa is always there, associated with every pursuit and experience of pleasure. That is tapa dukkha. Because of these three types of dukkhas. And again added to that is the fact that every pursuit of pleasure, it involves good and bad actions, which create dharma, which create karmashaya, and again this samsara chakra will continue. So because of all these pains that every pursuit of pleasure is fraught with, yogi sees all such pursuits as pregnant with pain, so to say. And also there is this Gunavritti Virodha. Gunavritti Virodha is that the mind is a combination. The constituents of the mind are three gunas, sattva, rajas and tamas. And they keep on alternatively prepondering. When sattva preponders, we have happiness and pleasure. When rajas preponders, we have dukkha and negative elements and restlessness. And when tamas preponders, we have confusion, moha and all that. So, and these are very essential constituents of the mind, and at no point only one is present, others are absent. Such a situation is not possible. So the state of pleasure, which is generated by preponderance of sattva, it has the elements of rajas and tamas also. The mind has the elements of rajas and tamas also. So the state of pure happiness, pure pleasure, perfect pleasure is illogical. It cannot be, because the very constitution of the mind is such that it will always have these three gunas which contribute to three kinds of experiences of happiness, restlessness and confusion. So pure pleasure will require existence only of sattva in the mind. No, that is not possible. That is one point. And second point is that these three gunas, they keep on fighting, so to say, that virodha is there, mutual contradiction. They keep on trying to overpower each other. When sattva predominates, rajas and tamas are trying to overpower it. So also about rajas and tamas, and that's why mind is said to be fickle. Why is the mind fickle? Because these three gunas, they are continuously trying to outdo each other, to overpower each other. So the state of pleasure in which the sattva is preponderant, it will again, so to say, the sattva will be dislodged by rajas and tamas, and then that state of happiness will go away. That is, by very constitution of the mind, no pleasure is going to be permanent. That is the long and short of it, so to say. Because the gunas will keep on trying to overpower each other, so no state of pleasure will be long lasting. So this is another pain, so to say, a disadvantage, so to say, that a yogi sees in all pursuits of pleasure. Bhagavad Gita, in half a sentence, so to say, succinctly puts it, anityam asukham lokam. This loka, this world, and all its pleasures and whatever you call it, achievements, they are anitya because of the gunavritti virodha, and they are asukha. Asukha means dukkha. Asukha is not the absence of happiness. Asukha is the opposite of sukha, that is dukkha. Dukkha because of the parinama, tapa and samskara dukkha. So, anityam asukham lokam. The same idea is conveyed here by Patanjali in this sutra. The last point that we discussed was the word vivekina. Only a viveki is able to foresee all these pains, so to say, all these pursuits fraught with pain. That is because akshipatra kalpohi vidvan, because the discerning person with discrimination, has sensitivity like an eyeball. Even a fine thread getting into eyeball will cause irritation, and other parts of the body it doesn't. So the mind of the yogi is very sensitive, and it has that farsight and foresight. It is able to foresee all these troubles that every pursuit of pleasure is fraught with. And hence, he or she takes precaution to avoid getting into this. As we said, this sarvam, generally it is accepted and easily explained with pursuit of pleasure, but it can be extended also. All our, so to say, self-interests activities prompted by self-interest are all fraught with these problems. Whether it is dvesha or whether it is bhaya, we pursue dvesha, we pursue bhaya, all these problems will come. Parinamatapa samskara dukkha will come, gunavritti virodha will come, everything will come in all our self-centered pursuits. As such, yogi steers clear of these. That's what we saw in our last class. The Vyasa, there is a long commentary on this sutra, and Vyasa, while concluding its commentary, is introducing a subject which is very important and which, so to say, is a prelude to the next few sutras. So he says that this Yoga Shastra that we are studying is Chaturvyuha. It has 4 aspects, so to say, and he compares it with Chikitsa Shastra. This is Vyasa's commentary. It's Chikitsa Shastra, that is the science of medicine, it's fourfold, has 4 aspects. So this Yoga Shastra has 4 aspects. And Vyasa says that Chikitsa Shastra, what are the 4 aspects? He says there is Roga, there is disease, then there is Roga Hetu, that is the cause of the disease. Then there is Arogyam, state of health, which is freedom from disease. And then there is Bhaishajyam, or the treatment or the medicine, which we can say is the cause of the health, cause of the absence of disease. This is the Chaturvyuha Chikitsa Shastra. And he says Yoga Shastra is also Chaturvyuha. And he says samsara or dukkha is a fact first. Then there is samsara hetu or dukkha hetu. There is a cause for this dukkha. Then there is moksha, which is like health, which is freedom from this dukkha. And then there is mokshopaya, the instrument or the means of this attaining moksha, which is samyak darshana, which is right knowledge. So this fourfold Yoga Shastra is what will be explained in next few sutras. This discussion becomes important because it gives, so to say, it gives us a clarity about the purpose, the direction of our life, especially for a spiritual aspirant. This sets the tone, so to say, which gives us direction and purpose of our life. See, the goal of spiritual life or life is to realize God. That is a given. This particular discussion takes that thing forward and kind of analyzes it and tells us exactly why we want God, why we want to lead a spiritual life, what is our goal, what is our purpose, what is the direction of our life, and also what is the driving force behind our endeavors. All that this discussion, so to say, brings these points. So the basic instinct in all beings and mainly in human beings, as our Shastras put it, is dukkha nivritti, sukha prapti. That is the basic instinct in all humans. We all want to get rid of misery, that is dukkha nivritti, freedom from dukkha, and sukha prapti, we want to attain sukha. That is the basic instinct that we have. And if we analyze the kleshas, the drives that we have of raga or attraction, wanting something, or dvesha, hating something, or abhinivesha, fearing something, these are all manifestations, so to say, of this basic instinct of sukha prapti and dukkha nivritti. This is the basic instinct which manifests in all these forms. So we feel if we get something, we will be happy. If we get rid of something, we will be happy. Dukkha nivritti will happen. If we get rid of certain situations, certain things, certain people from our life, we will have dukkha nivritti. If we get something, we will have sukha prapti. So this endeavor is there in all human beings. And when we look at it, our whole life is nothing but endeavor to achieve this goal, to get something that will make us happy, and to get rid of something that is causing us pain, that is causing us dukkha. All our attempts are for that one end only, through the kleshas. Kleshas become, so to say, the vehicles or the manifestations of this basic instinct of sukha prapti and dukkha nivritti. The problem is, we are short-sighted. We are not far-sighted, we are short-sighted. Our horizon, so to say, ends just a few weeks, few months, few years maximum. So we think, this will give me happiness, this will free me from misery, and we work on that. But what happens at the end? Even before we have got what we think we will give us happiness, before we have finished enjoying it, we have it has lost charm. We have lost our interest in it, and a new desire has cropped up. Now we think that will give us happiness. Before we have got rid of something that we thought is causing pain, something else has cropped up. So this repeated trying, getting, again losing, trying to get something, trying to get rid of something, again something else coming and causing misery. The worldly efforts at sukha prapti, dukkha nivritti are not going to give us long-term sukha or free us from dukkha for a long term. That is what we realize after going through all this and after reading scriptures and this earlier sutra that we read, Parinama Tapa Samskara. Worldly efforts are never going to be adequate. The world doesn't have the capacity to give us what we want for a long time. And hence, yogi says, I want sukha prapti, dukkha nivritti, no doubt. But he adds two more words, atyantika dukkha nivritti and paramananda prapti. This is the difference. Worldly person is after sukha prapti, dukkha nivritti. A yogi is after atyantika dukkha nivritti and paramananda sukha prapti. The dukkha nivritti that yogi seeks is not just the nivritti of dukkha which will last only for few weeks or months. Yogi is interested in atyantika dukkha nivritti. Once for all, for eternity to come, the misery has to end. And the joy that we get should be paramananda, should be supreme joy which will never leave us. That is what yogi wants. And that is the discussion about this Chaturvyuha, 4 aspects. What is it that we want to get rid of? What is it that we want? That clarity Vyasa is trying to bring and Patanjali is trying to bring. He will bring it in next few sutras. What spiritual aspirant is after is atyantika dukkha nivritti and paramananda prapti. This we get by God realization. God realization will give us this atyantika dukkha nivritti. There won't be any more misery. And there would be paramananda prapti. There would be supreme bliss for all time to come, eternal bliss. And this is the direction of the life of a spiritual seeker. As I said, this Chaturvyuha that gives us clarity as to what is it that we are after. What is it that we want? And it is in sync with the basic instinct which we already have. We already have this instinct to get sukha and get rid of dukkha. What yoga is doing or what scriptures do is they bring to our notice the futility of pursuing of undertaking worldly means to fulfill our basic instinct. They point us that all worldly efforts are going to be inadequate. The world is not rich enough, so to say, to fulfill us for all eternity. And hence, Samyak Darshana is the only upaya. And hence, yogi having ceased or ceasing from all worldly efforts at getting happiness and getting rid of misery, aims at Atyantika Dukkha Nivritti and Paramananda Prapti. And for that, yogi takes refuge in Samyak Darshana, that is right knowledge, perfect knowledge. That is the difference between a yogi and a worldly person. And this is what is highlighted by this Vyasa's commentary. While he's commenting, towards the end of his commentary on the earlier sutra. One minor philosophical discussion, philosophical difference you can say. These yogis, they borrow their philosophy from Sankhya heavily. And Sankhyas are more focused on Dukkha Nivritti. So their aim is Dukkha Nivritti. Vedanta adds Paramananda Prapti to it. So if we look at Brahma Sutra Bhashya and the very first sutra as to why we should undertake Brahma Jignasa, the reason is this. That this world and all the means of this world, whether seen or scriptural, that is mundane efforts or scriptural efforts like yagas and all that, they do not give us eternal happiness. It is only the realization of the self which will give us eternal happiness. And so we undertake this Brahma Jignasa. So this is the Vedantic way, both together, Atyantika Dukkha Nivritti and Paramananda Prapti. This is what a spiritual seeker aims at. And for that, all efforts are made. So the first sutra of this Chaturvyuha, there will be many sutras. Chaturvyuha is not mentioned just in 4 sutras, because as the sutra literature goes, a word will come which will need an explanation. So next sutra will give explanation to that word. So this Chaturvyuha will continue for some sutras. But the first aspect is Heyam Dukkham Anagatam. That is the sutra. Next sutra is that. Heyam Dukkham Anagatam. Another point that we should understand or keep in mind, those 4 aspects of Chaturvyuha. In spiritual life, Vyasa himself mentions samsara, dukkha, dukkha hetu, then there is moksha, and mokshopaya samyak darshana. Patanjali uses slightly different terminology. He uses the word heya, heya hetuhu, hanam, hanopayah. These are the 4 terms he uses. They mean the same thing what we had discussed earlier. Heya is that which has to be got rid of, which is this samsara, this transmigratory existence, heyam. Heya hetuhu is the cause of this transmigratory existence. Hanam is the destruction, state of destruction of this dukkha, or what is heya. And hanopaya are the means to attain to that which is samyak darshana. So these 4 terms will be used in the sutras. So first sutra is Heyam Dukkham Anagatam. It means what is to be avoided is dukkha, misery, which is yet to come, Anagatam. Anagatam means future. So this is what the yogi wants. Yogi wants to avoid or get rid of future misery. That is the first aspect of this Chaturvyuha, which Vyasa has spoken of. We'll discuss about this sutra in next classes. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.